Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show where we take a stack of your sources, distill the most important nuggets of knowledge, and help you, the listener, feel truly well-informed.
That's the plan.
Today, we're diving headfirst into, well, the often treacherous waters of horror sequels. It's always a fascinating challenge for filmmakers, isn't it?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially with long-running franchises.
Right. How do you keep it fresh? Particularly when the original is, a genre-defining masterpiece. Often the answer seems to involve trying to redefine things, maybe even tear them down a bit.
And few sequels really embody that attempt at radical redefinition and maybe the controversies that come with it, quite like Rob Zombie's Halloween the Second from 2009.
Exactly. That's the one.
Yeah, it's quite something. This isn't just like another slasher sequel. It's the 10th film in the whole Halloween saga.
Some 10th.
And maybe more importantly, it's Rob Zombie's direct follow-up to his own 2007 remake. So it holds this really unique and, often fiercely debated spot in the whole legacy.
Precisely. So our mission today is basically to dissect this particular film. We want to strip away any preconceived notions you might have.
Get down to the nitty-gritty.
Yeah. We're going to explore Rob Zombie's singular and, let's be honest, pretty uncompromising creative vision. We'll delve deep into the intense controversies around his character portrayals, which were pretty significant.
Oh, yeah. Loomis, especially.
Definitely. We'll unpack its box office performance, how it actually did financially, and then, of course, dissect its very, very polarized critical reception.
Because people either seem to love it or, well, really hate it.
Pretty much. So the goal here is to give you a comprehensive, kind of nuanced understanding of H2, to see what was really intended by Zombie and how that, let's say, bold vision ultimately landed with audiences and critics.
And we'll be pulling all the key insights straight from our sources, making sure you get a truly well-rounded, deep understanding of a film that absolutely shook up the status quo for Halloween.
Okay, let's get into it. Let's unpack this thing. So let's start with maybe what seems like a simple question, but it's actually a pretty pivotal context.
Mm-hmm.
How did Rob Zombie even end up back in the director's chair for Halloween the Second? Because, believe it or not, it wasn't like a sure thing at all.
No, not even close. In 2008, the producer, Malek Akkad, the driving force behind the franchise for years, he confirmed a sequel to Zombie's '07 remake was happening.
Right.
But the fascinating part here is that Zombie wasn't the first choice. Not even the preferred choice, it seems.
Really? After he'd just successfully rebooted it?
Yeah. Our sources show that Julien Maury and Alexandre Bustillo, the French directors, who did that incredibly intense film Inside.
Oh, Inside. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
They were actually in deep negotiations to direct the sequel back in November 2008. This wasn't just like a casual chat. The production company was actively trying to move forward without Zombie.
Huh. So they were serious about replacing him.
Seems like it. In fact, the producers had even hired various writers to cook up new drafts for the film. But apparently none of those scripts really hit the mark or gave them the clear direction they wanted.
So a bit of a struggle behind the scenes then, trying to figure out where to go next?
Definitely suggests that, yeah. Especially without the guy who just, put his stamp all over the reboot.
And Zombie himself, he'd been pretty open about how completely wiped out he was after making the 2007 film.
Oh, exhausted, yeah.
He put so much into it, he was quite emphatic about not wanting to come back for a sequel at all.
Right.
So the big question is, what changed his mind? What brought him back?
Well, the sources suggest that after about a year to cool off from the intensity and the sheer grind of making the first one, he just became more open to the idea, maybe found some new energy or a fresh angle, perhaps.
Time heals all wounds, or at least directorial burnout.
Something like that. And that newfound openness was absolutely crucial because it led directly to this really significant shift in how H2 was approached creatively.
Okay. How so?
Producer Malek Akkad basically gave Zombie this unprecedented directive, especially for a sequel in a franchise this established, this, rigid sometimes.
Right.
He told him, and this is a quote directly from our sources, "Don't feel hindered by any of the rules we've had in the past. I want this to be your vision, and I want you to express that vision."
Wow. That's huge, especially for Halloween.
Massive. A complete departure from the constraints of the first film, where Zombie himself admitted he felt this strong need to keep that John Carpenter-ness, to respect the original.
Yeah, he had to play within certain lines on the first one.
Exactly. This time, the handcuffs were completely off.
That's either a massive vote of confidence or maybe Maybe a bit of desperation from producers who couldn't find anyone else with a strong pitch.
Could be a bit of both, honestly. But either way, Zombie himself later said he felt free to do whatever he wanted with H2.
And you can really feel that freedom in the finished film.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you connect that freedom to the bigger picture, it explains precisely why the film feels so radically different. Not just from the old Carpenter sequels, but even from his own 2007 remake.
Yeah, it's its own beast entirely.
Totally. He clearly wasn't aiming for just another horror sequel. He wanted something else entirely within that Halloween world.
So what was he aiming for then?
He described it himself as ultra gritty, ultra intense, and very real. His stated goal was to create, and I quote, almost the exact opposite of what people would expect from a Halloween film.
The exact opposite. That's bold.
Extremely. So this wasn't just a film of his own reimagining, pushing the boundaries of what a Halloween film could be, or maybe, some would argue, should be.
Yeah, and that kind of artistic freedom, especially when you give to someone like Rob Zombie within a beloved franchise like Halloween. I mean, that's basically guaranteed to cause a stir, right?
Almost without exception. It forces the audience to confront not just the movie itself, but also their own relationship with the series, the established lore, everything they thought they knew. Strong reactions are pretty much baked in.
Okay, so let's really dig into the core of this reimagining now, the actual story, and how Zombie just fundamentally twisted the characters we thought we knew.
Right. The narrative backbone of H2, it picks up like immediately after Lori Strode shoots Michael Myers in Zombie's first film. Right from frame one, Lori's dealing with severe, like debilitating trauma.
Yeah, she's not okay.
Not at all. Meanwhile, Dr. Loomis, he's trying to cash in on the whole tragedy by writing this new, pretty controversial book.
Yeah.
And Michael Myers, well, he somehow survived getting shot in the face.
Of course he did.
And he's being driven by these really disturbing visions of his dead mother, Deborah Myers, and a younger version of himself. And they're basically telling him, instructing him to reunite with his sister.
So the vision stuff starts right away.
Pretty much. The film throws you right back into the chaos. Lori, Sheriff Brackett, Annie Brackett, Dr. Loomis, they're all rushed to the hospital after Michael's initial rampage.
And Michael's body is going there too, right?
Yeah, his supposedly dead body is being transported in an ambulance. But, there's a traffic accident. Chaos ensues. Michael wakes up, escapes, and immediately kills a paramedic.
Brutal start. Sets the tone.
Absolutely. Unrelenting. Then we jump forward 1 year.
Okay.
Michael is officially presumed dead. Vanished.
Yeah.
Lori is living with the Bracketts, trying to piece together some kind of normal life, but she's visibly struggling. Her psychological trauma is escalating, getting worse.
And Loomis, still cashing in.
Oh, yeah. He's milking his notoriety for all it's worth. He's on a book tour, but he's facing some serious public backlash for, exploiting the victims and their suffering for his own gain.
Right. So he's immediately positioned very differently from the Donald Pleasance version.
Worlds apart. And this is where things get really interesting psychologically, where Zombie's focus really sharpens. Lori herself starts having these disturbing, vivid hallucinations.
Hallucinations, like Michael's.
Yeah, they eerily mirror Michael's past, his memories, even his violent actions. She starts kind of acting out his murders, replicating his movements, his intensity.
Oh, okay, that's dark.
It's more than just PTSD symptoms. It's terrifying foreshadowing. It hints at this much deeper, darker, maybe even innate connection between them, like a shared madness.
Inherent darkness. Why?
And that connection becomes explicit when Lori finds out the truth. She is Angel Myers, Michael's long-lost baby sister.
And how does she find out?
Perhaps cruelly, she learns it from Loomis's new sensationalist book.
Oh, that's just awful, finding out like that. From him.
Yeah. And from there, the climax just ramps up into this incredibly violent, almost chaotic series of events. Michael shows up at a Halloween party, brutally kills Lori's friend Harley. Then he goes to the Brackett house, fatally wounds Annie, Lori's best friend, and the sheriff's daughter. Then he kills Maya, Lori's other friend. He just relentlessly pursues Lori.
Non-stop.
He eventually corners her, takes her to this abandoned, dilapidated shed out in the woods.
The shed confrontation, right?
And inside that shed, things get even more surreal, more psychological, really disturbing.
Yeah.
Both Lori and Michael have this shared hallucination. They see their dead mother, Deborah.
Together, at the same time.
Yeah. And in this really chilling moment, Deborah asks Lori to call her Mommy.
Oh, my God.
Then Dr. Loomis bursts in, tries one last time to reason with Michael, break through to him somehow.
Does it work?
Nope. Michael stabs him. Repeatedly. Kills him.
So Loomis is gone, finally.
Gone. Then Michael gets shot through the cabin window by Sheriff Brackett, who arrives just then. Michael falls back, gets impaled on a rake.
Impaled? Is he dead?
Looks like it.
Yeah.
And then comes this really pivotal moment. Lori, who seems almost released from her own visions now that Michael is down, she walks over to him.
What does she do?
She picks up Michael's knife, and she stabs him. Over and over. Kills him.
She kills Michael. Wow.
Yeah. The film then cuts to Lori in a psychiatric ward. Completely catatonic, except she's wearing Michael's mask.
No.
And she's grinning this really unsettling grin as Deborah's ghost approaches her with that white horse, the one that kept appearing in Michael's visions.
So she's basically become him, or something close to it.
It's profoundly dark.
Yeah.
Ambiguous, almost nihilistic. Her fate, her sanity, completely shattered. The ending leaves her utterly broken.
Man. The character changes in this film are just drastic. A huge departure. Let's talk about Lori first. Scout Taylor Compton.
Yeah, her performance is incredibly intense.
Yes?
Zombie's explicit choice was to focus entirely on the raw psychological fallout from the first movie.
Right.
She becomes, and this is Zombie's word, a wreck, just sinking lower and lower into trauma and despair. Taylor Compton herself said Lori has bipolar moments, flipping from okay to extremely agitated, constantly going into these really dark places.
You see it physically, too. Her appearance changes.
Totally. She becomes grungy, Zombie said. It's a deliberate visual cue reflecting her internal darkness, her unraveling mind. And crucially, the actress pointed out Lori doesn't even know she's Michael's sister for most of the film.
Which makes her vulnerability even more potent.
Exactly. It heightens that sense of external forces, maybe even internal ones she doesn't understand, just preying on her.
What's so fascinating, I think, is how it tries to ground the horror in this really unsettling psychological reality. She's not just the tough final girl anymore.
No, she's deeply disturbed. PTSD, fragmented memories, maybe even, like you said, a shared psychosis with Michael. The film doesn't flinch from showing the ugly side of trauma.
It almost makes her monstrous in her own way, doesn't it? Internally, at least.
It definitely blurs those lines. Victim, aggressor, sanity, madness. Zombie seems to be saying the horror didn't end for Lori when Michael went down the first time. It was just beginning inside her.
Okay, let's shift to Dr. Loomis. Malcolm McDowell. Always great.
Always compelling, yeah. But Zombie deliberately took him in a completely different direction here. He wanted Loomis to be a sellout.
A sellout? How so?
Someone exploiting the trauma, the memories of the victims, the whole horrific event, just for personal gain, for a quick book deal and fame.
Oh.
Zombie actually tried to channel Vincent Bugliosi, you know, the lawyer who prosecuted Charles Manson, and then wrote that huge bestseller about it.
Right, Helter Skelter.
Exactly. He wanted Loomis to have that kind of vibe, to appear more ridiculous and self-serving.
Which is just worlds away from the Donald Pleasance Loomis, who was obsessive, sure, but seemed driven by this need to stop evil.
Totally. And this new Loomis, this morally compromised version, it raises big questions. How does he compare? Why does Zombie go this route?
What did the sources suggest was Zombie's reason?
It seems he really wanted to subvert expectations, turn Loomis into this cynical, almost grotesque figure. And by doing that, he forces us, the audience, to confront uncomfortable things about media exploitation, about how tragedy gets commodified.
So it's a thematic statement, not just a character change.
Exactly. It adds this other layer of grim, realistic horror, the horror of sensationalism, of profiting from pain.
Okay, what about Sheriff Brackett? Brad Dourif.
Yeah, Dourif gets way more screen time and depth in H2. Zombie described his Brackett as old, worn out, beat down, just struggling to cope.
Of Lori's breakdown.
Yeah, and with his own daughter Annie's trauma after the first film's attack. He's the weary everyman, the local guy trying to hold it all together when everything's falling apart. He embodies the toll this takes on a community.
He feels very real in that exhaustion.
Definitely. But here's the really striking contrast, and maybe the most crucial character point in Zombie's whole vision. Michael Myers himself. Tyler Mane again.
Right. Imposing figure.
Huge.
Yeah.
And he has a new look, yeah. Dirty, ragged clothes, like he's been living rough for a year.
But internally.
That's the key. Michael's the only main character who does not change internally at all.
Wow.
Zombie stated it explicitly. This is key. He said, Michael is no different. He's exactly the same as he was 10 years old, and he killed everybody. He has no concept of the world around him, so he can never be affected by it.
That's profound and kind of terrifying.
It is. It positions Michael not as a man, not even really human, but as pure, unchanging, unthinking evil. a relentless force of nature, totally immune to the psychological shifts destroying everyone else.
He's the rock everyone else breaks against.
Perfectly put. He's the immovable object.
It's a really nihilistic take, isn't it? Less a person consumed by evil, more just walking violence, a primal force.
Exactly. His motivations aren't really psychological in the way Lori's or Loomis's are. They're almost instinctual. This inherent, almost mythical drive to find his sister, driven by these visions.
Speaking of Michael, young Michael had a casting change, didn't he?
Yeah, small detail but interesting. Dave Ferrich played him really effectively in the 2007 remake. He was initially signed on for H2, even filmed a bit.
But he got recast.
Yeah, he just grew too tall between films.
Yeah.
Puberty, you know. The script needed young Michael to appear a certain way in the visions, and Ferrich didn't fit anymore. Must have been frustrating for a zombie, who apparently really liked him.
Who replaced him?
An actor named Chase Wright-Vennick took over the role. And get this, test shots of Ferrich actually showed up in the first trailer for H2, even though he wasn't in the final movie.
Huh. Little production hiccup there. Shows the challenges.
Definitely. Especially with kid actors and time jumps.
And beyond that core group, the film had this really interesting ensemble cast. It kind of speaks to zombie style, bringing in unexpected people.
For sure. His wife, Cherie Moon Zombie, was back as Deborah Myers, playing that crucial, kind of ghostly role in Michael's visions. Danielle Harris returned as Annie Brackett, dealing with her own trauma.
And there's some surprising faces too, right?
Yeah. Breakran as Maya Rockwell, Howard Hessman from WKRP as Uncle Meat.
Uncle Meat, okay.
And even, like, cameos from Weird Al Yankovic.
Weird Al, and a Halloween movie.
Yep. And veteran actress Margot Kidder, plus future Oscar winner Octavia Spencer in a small role as a nurse. It adds this sort of eclectic, almost quirky feel to the background, despite the grimness.
It definitely shows zombie pulling from all corners of entertainment. Adds a unique texture.
Yeah, a lived-in, if slightly weird, Haddonfield.
Okay, before we move on to, like, the making of the film, we absolutely have to talk about the alternate ending.
Oh, yes. The director's cut ending. Very different.
Zombie actually filmed a completely different conclusion. And this is fascinating because it shows totally different possibilities, different choices, and really shines a light on what the final message could have been. A glimpse into a much darker reality.
Much darker is right. So in this alternate version, the shed confrontation doesn't end with Lori stabbing Michael after Brackett shoots him.
What happens instead?
Loomis and Michael actually crash out of the shed into the open. Loomis is desperately pleading with Michael, even tries to pull his mask off.
And Michael
stabs him. And as he does, he says one word: die.
Whoa. Michael speaks.
In this version, yes. Just that one word. And Loomis's fate here is actually left ambiguous.
Yeah.
We don't know for sure if he dies from the stabbing.
Okay, different already. Then what?
The police arrive, see Michael standing over Loomis, and they just open fire. Gun it down. Kill him.
So Michael dies definitively, but what about Lori?
Here's the really devastating part. Lori comes out of the shack, completely gone, totally insane. She picks up Michael's knife.
Oh, no.
And she walks towards Loomis's unconscious body, knife raised. Sheriff Brackett is screaming at her, pleading with her to stop, but the police see her with the knife, looking menacing.
They shoot her.
They open fire. And it heavily implies they kill her, too.
Oh, my God. So in that version, everyone dies. Or Lori becomes a killer and dies.
Pretty much. It's an even more nihilistic conclusion. It hammers home Lori's complete, irreversible descent into madness. She essentially becomes the thing she fought. Just as violent, just as lost. No hope, no survival, just bleakness.
Wow, that would have closed the door on their stories in the darkest way possible, solidifying her transformation.
Absolutely. It really underscores Zombie's commitment to exploring the utterly destructive nature of violence and trauma. How it just consumes everyone it touches. No escape.
So the theatrical ending, while still incredibly dark with her in the mask, may be pulled back just a tiny bit from that absolute finality.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
It leaves her future terrifyingly uncertain, trapped in that psychiatric ward, wearing the mask, echoing her brother. But the alternate ending, that was pure, unadulterated despair for everyone. It really shows how far Zombie was willing to push things.
Okay. Beyond the plot and characters, the whole vibe of Halloween the Sectic feels different. It's instantly recognizable as a Rob Zombie film. And a lot of that comes down to his practical choices, right? Filming, music.
Totally. On the production side, it had a $15 million budget, which, for a horror sequel back then, gave him a decent sandbox to play in creatively.
Where did they shoot it?
Filming started late February 2009, mostly in Atlanta, Georgia.
Georgia, not Illinois.
Right. Now, tax breaks were probably a factor. They usually are.
Right.
But Zombie's main reason, according to him, was simpler. The other places they considered filming still had snow on the ground when they needed to shoot. Georgia just gave him the visual look he wanted, that sort of grimy, autumnal, slightly run-down feel.
He really chased that specific aesthetic, even down to the location.
Yeah, shows his commitment to getting that specific visual texture, that raw, unpolished look.
And speaking of texture, let's talk about the sound, the music. It plays a huge role in this film's atmosphere.
Massive. And what's really fascinating is how much Zombie struggled with John Carpenter's original iconic Halloween theme.
He struggled to use it, but it's the theme.
Right. He and the composer, Tyler Bates, who's brilliant, by the way, they tried to find places for it. But Zombie openly said it just wouldn't feel right with what was happening on screen with the tone of his film.
So he barely used the most famous piece of music in the franchise.
Barely is right. Our sources confirm that iconic theme. It only shows up in the very, very final shot of the movie, almost like a little nod or an afterthought, rather than being woven into the score.
Wow. That's another bold move. Sacrificing something so beloved, so expected.
It really highlights his determination to make this his thing, completely distinct, even if it meant ditching something fans absolutely expected to hear. It's like deconstructing expectations right down to the music cues.
So what did he use instead?
Well, classic Zombie style, he used a lot of popular songs, needle drops, stuff he liked, stuff he felt would enhance a given scene.
Like Nights in White Satin. That one stands out.
Oh yeah, the Moody Blues.
Eh.
That song appears prominently, almost like this recurring kind of haunting motif throughout the film. It's a very different approach from the traditional score-driven horror of the originals. Much more eclectic, maybe unsettling for some.
Definitely defines the film's unique soundscape. That dreamy yet gritty feeling.
For sure. There was an official soundtrack release with those needle drops plus Bates' original score. And remember Captain Clegg and the Night Creatures?
The band playing at the party, yeah.
They actually released a separate album, too, like a real band, to tie in with the movie, added to that unique identity.
Huh, that's pretty cool.
And Nan Vernon, remember, she did that amazing, creepy cover of Mr. Sandman for the 2007 remake.
Oh, yeah, at the end credits. Chilling.
She came back for H2 and did an equally melancholic cover of Love Hurts. All these diverse musical choices just really add up to create the film's distinct, unsettling, very personal atmosphere.
Okay, so after all that creative ambition, the radical changes, the unique style, how did it actually do? How did it land with the public and the critics?
Right, the big question. Let's start with the rollout. Dimension Films released it in North America on August 28, 2009. Pretty wide release, over 3,000 theaters. UK followed in October.
And didn't they try a re-release strategy too?
Yeah, interesting move. They actually re-released it in North America on October 30th, 2009, right before Halloween. Put it back in over 1,000 theaters, clearly hoping to grab some of that seasonal horror crowd, maybe boost the numbers a bit.
Did it work? We'll get to that. What about home video?
It hit DVD and Blu-ray January 12th, 2010. And importantly, you could get both the theatrical cut and an unrated director's cut. Zombie himself said the director's cut is very different.
Ah, like the alternate ending we talked about.
Exactly. That director's cut is key for understanding his full vision. Interestingly, the sources note that the theatrical cut on Blu-ray, initially, was only available in Canada as part of a double feature pack with the 2007 film. Weird distribution quirk.
Huh. But having that director's cut out there is important for a film this contentious. Lets you see the unfiltered version.
Absolutely. It often hints at studio notes or compromises made for the theatrical release. For H2, seeing Zombie's preferred version is pretty vital to really get what he was going for.
Okay, so the box office. How did it actually perform financially? You said it was a mixed bag.
Yeah, mixed is a good word. On its opening day, it pulled in about $7.64 million. Which sounds okay, but it was actually a noticeable drop from the 2007 remake's opening day, which was closer to $11 million.
So less initial excitement this time around.
Seems that way. By the end of its opening weekend, H2 had grossed $16.35 million.
How does that stack up historically for the franchise?
Well, perspective is interesting here. That $16 million opening weekend was actually more than the entire box office run of some older sequels like Halloween the 3rd, Halloween 5, and Curse of Michael Myers, if you don't adjust for inflation.
Okay, so not a complete bomb compared to some of the lesser entries.
Right. It showed the Halloween name still had some power. But
there's always a but.
Yeah. Despite that okay opening compared to the older films, it dropped off hard in its second weekend, like nearly 65%. pulled in just over $5.7 million.
Ouch. That usually means bad word of mouth, right? Or maybe fans were just curious, saw it once, and that was enough.
Could be either or both.
Yeah?
That steep drop is never a good sign for longevity. And that Halloween re-release strategy
Did it help?
barely made a dent, only added about $475,000. So yeah, that didn't really reignite interest.
So what was the final take?
The final numbers really confirm it underperformed expectations, especially after the '07 film's success. It ended up with about $33.4 million in North America and another $6 million overseas. Worldwide total, roughly $39.4 million.
Against a $15 million budget.
So it made its money back, plus some. Definitely profitable. But it wasn't the big hit the studio probably wanted or expected.
Where does that put it in the franchise rankings overall?
If you look at the historical grosses, it actually lands in 4th place among all the Halloween films, just behind the original 1978 film. So financially, not terrible in the grand scheme, but definitely indicates audiences were maybe less on board with zombies' extreme vision this time.
Okay. And then the critics. You said polarized earlier. Sounds like an understatement.
Deeply, deeply divisive is probably more accurate. The aggregate scores tell the story pretty clearly. Rotten Tomatoes. A dismal 25% approval rating based on 84 reviews.
25%. Oof.
Yeah. And the consensus critic quote there talks about mountains of gore and hackney, brutal violence. Metacritic was even lower. 35 out of 100 from 17 critics, indicating generally unfavorable reviews.
So broadly negative.
Ah.
But what specifically made it so polarizing, more so than just a typical bad sequel?
That's the interesting part. It really comes down to how different critics reacted to zombies' specific choices, those bold departures we've been talking about. Let's dig into some specific reviews.
Yeah, let's hear the range.
Okay, Rob Nelson at Variety. He found the whole Deborah Myers White Horse stuff silly, just dismissed it, which is, directly opposite to zombies' intent for it to be this key psychological thing.
Right.
Nelson also slammed the choice to shoot on 16mm film instead of the 35mm used for the remake. He felt it made the movie look rushed and slapped together. He saw the grittiness as just sloppy.
So he didn't buy the aesthetic choice.
Not at all. And he described the opening hospital scene, which many people actually liked, as just a butcher version of the 1981 sequel's hospital sequence. Basically dismissed the whole film as lacking substance beyond the gore. Pretty harsh.
Very harsh. But you said it was divisive, so presumably some critics saw it differently.
Oh, yeah. Time Out magazine offered a completely different take. They thought that same opening hospital scene actually bested the 1981 sequel in just about every respect, praised its intensity.
Wow, total opposite view.
Exactly. They also specifically praised Scout Taylor Compton's performance, calling it an intense, non-trivializing dedication to Lori. Felt she kept the audience hooked, despite how bleak her story was.
Okay, so they saw value there. Any criticisms from them?
Yeah, even they had issues. They felt Loomis's whole egocentric storyline actually hindered the main narrative, suggesting that character change, while bold, may be detracted from Lori's focus. And they also noted that Zombie sometimes seemed to undercut his own exploration of trauma's effects with carnivalesque, over-the-top violence, implying maybe a tonal inconsistency. So even a more positive review had significant reservations.
That tension, psychological depth versus extreme gore seems key to why it split people.
Absolutely. It's a recurring theme. Tom Russo at the Boston Globe had really mixed, almost contradictory feelings. He acknowledged Zombie's inventiveness, but said it had mixed results.
Okay.
He called the dream sequences, the White Horse stuff, pretentiously silly, echoing Nelson. But then he also admitted those same scenes did break up the relentless violence and created a unique vibe, something like Tim Burton doing straight horror.
Huh. So silly, but also interesting.
Yeah, like he saw the artistic attempt even if he didn't fully buy it. His conclusion was pretty telling. Only the most hardcore fans would want this series to continue after this. Not exactly a glowing recommendation for a mainstream film.
Right. Not exactly aiming for broad appeal with takes like that. Was anyone just straight up positive?
Surprisingly, yes. Joe Newmeyer at the Daily News gave it a much warmer reception. He actually said Zombie found himself with H2, like it was a step up from the remake.
Really? How so?
He called it a successful character-based monster flick, praising the focus on Laurie's trauma and Michael's primal nature as strengths. He even liked the weird 70s music choices, Nights in White Satin, The Things We Do for Love, calling them terrifically odd in a good way.
So he embraced the quirks.
Totally. Yep. And completely opposite to Nelson and Russo, Newmeyer called the Deborah Myers White Horse imagery a nice visual relief from all the brutality. It shows just how subjective this stuff is.
Man, those reviews are all over the place. It really highlights just how polarizing Zombie's vision was.
Completely. For some, the psychology, the grit, the brutality, it worked. It was unsettling, different. For others, it was just too much gore. The character changes were betrayals. The ambition didn't land. It was designed to provoke, and boy, did it succeed, for better or worse.
Okay, so after H2, what happened next? The franchise didn't stop there, obviously, but Zombie was done, right?
Oh, yeah. Given the burnout he felt after the first one, and then this deeply divisive reception, in 2009, Rob Zombie officially said no thanks to directing another Halloween. He was definitively out.
Didn't take long for the studio to try again, though.
Almost immediately. Like August 2009, right around when H2 was coming out, Halloween 3D was announced by the Weinstein Company, planned for a 2010 release.
Halloween 3D, okay. What was the plan there?
This proposed sequel had this really wild, kind of fan-infuriating plot point ready to go. It would have retroactively said that Lori killed Loomis in H2, not Michael.
What? Why?
Who knows? But it was a significant retcon they were planning. Todd Farmer and Patrick Lussier, who did My Bloody Valentine 3D, were hired to write it.
Yeah.
So the studio was already moving on, new team, ready to pivot again.
But Halloween 3D never happened, did it?
Nope. Ultimately canceled in 2012. Our sources say the Weinsteins decided to prioritize Scream 4 instead, which came out in 2011.
Ah, studio politics.
Exactly. Highlights how volatile film production is. Franchise plans change on a dime based on priorities, money, what's hot in horror right then, constant battle for resources.
So that cancellation kind of cleared the decks.
Pretty much. And it paved the way for a totally new era for Michael Myers. What's fascinating is how the series evolved completely without Zombie and without any real connection to his two films.
Enter Blumhouse.
Exactly. In 2016, Blumhouse Productions, famous for their low-budget, high-success horror model, scooped up the rights to Halloween. Fresh start, new direction.
And their first film, the 2018 Halloween,
served as a direct sequel to the original 1978 film. It completely ignored, retconned, wiped the slate clean of all previous sequels.
Yeah.
Including Zombie's two films. Universal Pictures took over distribution too, another big shift.
So what does all that mean for Halloween the 2nd, 2009 in the grand scheme? Where does it sit now?
Essentially, it stands as the final Halloween film made by Dimension Films.
Yeah.
It really marks the end of that whole era for the franchise, before the big Blumhouse reboot.
A polarizing endpoint to that chapter.
Definitely. For all its controversy, H2 represents this bold, uncompromising, ultimately divisive attempt to reinvent the lore, push the boundaries. It led to a total narrative reset eventually, but it undeniably left its mark, a very distinct, very debated mark on the franchise's long, winding history.
And there you have it, our deep dive into Rob Zombie's Halloween the 2nd. We've unpacked his very distinct, often polarizing vision, his deep dive into the psychological damage on Lori, the gritty look, the music choices, and that incredibly divisive reception.
Yeah, it's a film that, whatever you think of it, has a strong identity.
Absolutely. For all the controversy, it unquestionably represents a unique directorial stamp on a legendary series, a singular vision that really dared to mess with expectations.
It truly does. It demanded a reaction, and it definitely got one. Sparked debates that are still going on among fans and critics. It really forces you to think about what a Halloween movie even can be.
Which brings us to a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. When a filmmaker gets complete creative freedom with a beloved franchise, like Zombie did here, what responsibility do they have to the legacy, to the fans, versus their own artistic vision?
It's a tough balance.
Oh.
Where does respect for the past and artistic freedom begin?
Exactly. And how do we, as audiences, reconcile these vastly different takes all existing under the same franchise umbrella? We'll leave you to ponder how this unique, challenging entry ultimately shapes the enduring legacy of Michael Myers and Lori Strode in the ever-evolving saga of Halloween.